Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today, we'll discuss dreams that seem distant but are nearby. Life is full of illusions, but pain always tells the truth. Even if my heart is heavy, life keeps rolling on. Like light-piercing darkness, Chris completed his application in the morning, as if a turnaround was at hand. Full of hope, Chris handed his application to the HR manager for a self-introduction, but was ignored. But hey, sometimes life throws surprises at you, like that singing girl who stole his scanner showing up again. Chris ran like a mad rabbit, shouting, "That's mine." Ignoring the shocked looks from pedestrians, he managed to grab his stuff back just before the bus took off. But is it really a surprise to get it back? Watching her husband return empty-handed yet again, his wife was already overflowing with disappointment. In front of money problems, marital closeness seemed to freeze over like it was the Ice Age. Chris desperately wanted to mend his wife's heart, assuring her that everything would be okay. Clearly, his wife didn't buy it. At night, Chris played with a Rubik's Cube in the living room, seeking a way out with this 81 hit. Back then, few could solve it. Even math professors needed about 30 minutes. But for Chris, it was a piece of cake. And the turning point came thanks to the Rubik's Cube. For the next month, he stood waiting for the HR manager outside his office every day. After waiting forever, the manager rushed off to a meeting, and Chris had a light bulb moment. He pretended he was headed there too and jumped in the same cab. On the vehicle, Chris was chattering non-stop about himself, whereas the other person was solely engrossed in twisting their Rubik's Cube. "Give it to me." The manager handed the cube to Chris, who promptly started explaining its principles in all. The driver slowed, also a cube fan. The manager watched in disbelief as Chris quickly solved the first phase. Halfway, Chris tackled two sides. Arriving, he was one step from his dream job. With two cube enthusiasts as witnesses, Chris successfully restored the cube in just 23 minutes. The manager was astounded and mentally noted down Chris' name, still in shock from what had just witnessed. Still in a daze, the manager forgot to pay the cab fare, which was a lucky break for Chris. Watching the fare meter rise rapidly, Chris hatched a daring plan. Time to skip out on the fare. Passing a traffic light, he exited quickly, only to find the scanner left on the passenger seat. He put all his effort into breaking free from the driver while apologizing non-stop. What a handful. While folks in the park were relaxing, Chris in his suit was sprinting away, with a taxi behind him like a vengeful ghost. In a panic, he dove into the subway station, hope ahead, and furious shouts behind. All he could think was, maybe the greatest distance in the world is miles apart, but the door between you and me. A month's worth of family income just vanished, leaving Chris feeling as gloomy as a sudden downpour. He begged his wife to pick up their son, but on the other end, she was done with it all, ready to walk away for good. Chris missing the pickup meant his wife was late for work, and that was the last straw. When Chris rushed home, he found the place stripped bare. His wife's resolve was as solid as steel, even the clothes were gone. Just then, the phone rang. It was the HR manager calling to give him an interview notice for 2 days late. For Chris, this wasn't just a lucky break. It was the result of all his hard work over the past month. Next morning, Chris ran into his wife at the daycare, and he only hoped to keep his son. Neither had feelings left to fight over. To ensure he could spend time with his son, Chris picked him up early. But upon returning to the rental, the landlord was knocking at the door. The landlord demanded Chris leave by noon tomorrow since he hadn't paid rent for 3 months. After much pleading, the landlord grudgingly agreed to give him a week's grace, but only if he painted the walls. Things went from bad to worse when 2 officers knocked on his door the next day about his overdue parking tickets. Police demanded full payment of all fines, so Chris wrote a check but had to wait until the next morning to see if it cleared. Until then, he was trapped in a cage of his own making and desperately reached out to his estranged wife for help. Despite her disappointment in him, as a mother, she couldn't refuse to watch their son for one night. They might not be the perfect couple anymore, but before their child, they shouldn't abandon their responsibilities as parents. The next day, after sorting out the tickets, he found he had only half an hour until the interview. No time to change. He rushed out. The moment the manager saw Chris covered in paint, their jaw dropped in shock. I hyped you up to my boss about how seriously you take this job, and this is the best you can do. Chris was very honest, clearly detailing all the challenges he faced recently. If you ask me something I don't know, I'll say, I don't know. But I'll find the answer. Then, the boss threw a tricky question at him, but Chris diffused it with humor. In the end, with his seriousness and quick wit, Chris secured an internship as a stockbroker. The 6-month unpaid internship competing with elite graduates had Chris second-guessing himself. Unless he sold those scanners, he wouldn't make it. If you enjoyed this show, make sure to subscribe for more amazing content coming your way.